kitchen. Thank you for joining me, and today's recipe is from my 4 Seasons Ninja Foodie cookbook, and in there you'll find the full list of ingredients. And if you need any of the equipment that I use during the recipe, then just go over to my website and it'll be linked on my accessories page for you. I really hope you enjoy this recipe. If you do, don't forget to hit that like button for me, and if you're new to Susannah's Kitchen, then subscribe to my channel for new weekly content. I'd love to see some of your creations, so don't forget to add them to my Facebook group and tag me in on my social media platforms. The links are all down below in my description. So I think we've got everything covered. Let's start cooking. This is going to go down a treat in my house and with my extended family. They're all waiting for a slice of this. So I'm going to start off making my apple pie with some plain flour. And I'm just prepping the pastry. So I add my flour to my bowl, just weighing that out. And then you want to add in your butter. I actually like to grate mine in. I just think it's a really quick and easy way to do it. You can cut it up into little cubes and add it. It really doesn't matter, but this is just the way that I've recently liked doing it. So I get all of that butter. It's unsalted butter and it's a nice cold block. Then I like to add a small amount of sugar, and that's just going to sweeten that a little bit for us. So let's remove the scales. And what we want to do now is just rub this flour and butter together using our fingers and our thumbs. It's pretty easy when your butter's nice and cold. And obviously I have grated that, so it's nice and fine in there. So just makes this job a little bit easier, a little bit quicker. And this is such an amazing winter dessert. I don't think you can have apple pie without custard, in my opinion. Let me know in the comments, let me know what you think. Are you more of an ice cream person, or maybe some double cream? Or if, like me, you are more custard. Now I'm going to crack an egg into here. Just make sure you got no shell in there. Like that, got a bit of shell. Okay, now we give that a mix and start combining this together. And then this is going to form our pastry. So it's going to give us a dough. I'm just going to use sort of the back of my spoon. Let's try and combine that together. I will then use my hands. Hands are dirty anyway, so we might as well get stuck in. Now I like to use my silicone mat. So if you've got one of these, they are very useful. This is from Amazon, as you can see. And they are linked, these ones. It comes in a pack of 2. They're linked on my accessories page on my website. So if you do want to grab them, they're not very much money. And to be fair, I do use them a lot. Okay, that dough is coming together pretty nicely. Just needs a little bit more manipulation with the hands. And that egg is about the right quantity of moisture and liquid that this needs. If your dough is a little bit dry and it's not coming together as you want it to, then you can add a little splash of water just until it's just about right, because obviously every egg is going to be slightly different in size. So I've taken around a quarter of my pastry and set that aside, because that's going to be for the top of the pie, the pastry top. And I like to use some cling film, and I like to roll out my pastry using cling film, and that way you don't get all the sticking. It's easy. The mat underneath is non-stick, so it's going to lift up nicely, and then we're able to then lift that up and line our baking tin or our pie tin. So I'm using quite a traditional looking pie dish for this. And this is nice because it conducts the heat really well. And that really helps us to cook this nicely in our Ninja. So what I do is I just kind of have a look how I'm doing size-wise with that. You can patch it up. It hasn't got to be perfect. Please don't worry about that. I always patch up my pastry. I'm no pastry expert whatsoever. but we're all home cooks here. Right, so let's get that in here. I'm going to lift that out, put that in, and I'll show you if I need to patch it up. So there you go, rough and ready, but it does the job, doesn't it? So just remove that cling film. Now I can trim up on the edges that are just right. So that goes all the way to the edge, which is exactly as I want it. And with your edges that don't, as I said, just patch it up. It's pretty kind of nice, sort of sticky pastry, you know, it will hold together. So it's ideal for that. Got a little bit there that needs patching up as well. Just going to get my sharper knife. Just gives me a cleaner edge. And any pastry that you've cut off, keep that and add that to the remaining pastry, so you know you've got absolutely plenty of your lid. Brilliant. So that is my pie lined. Now we need to blind bake that, and then while we're blind baking it, we can prepare our filling. Now I'm going to blind bake this with some parchment inside and then my baking beans. So I've created a little sling here just out of some kitchen foil, and it just gives me some handles really that I'm then able to grip onto to lift that out a little bit easier at the end. Can't believe I haven't bought myself a proper sling as yet, because I'm always talking about it and needing one, and then I end up using kitchen foil, but never mind, that works. Now the reason that I'm putting that directly in the bottom of the pot is to get a nice crisp base to my apple pie. It's going to conduct the heat really well rather than putting it on the rack. If you don't want to do that and you want to try it on the rack, then you know it may be absolutely fine, but this is the method that I like for my apple pie. So let's get the lid down and let's get that blind baked, and then we're ready to move on to our filling. Okay, so my apples are now all sliced. I have put a little squeeze of lemon on them as I've gone along, and that's just to stop them from browning too much whilst we're preparing everything. Right, to my apples, I now want to add my sugar. So let's bring that forward. Okay, so let's measure in the sugar that I'm using. Always looks like quite a lot, but we want this to be sweet and tasty. Now these are optional, but I like to add some ground cinnamon. I'm going to mix all this together in a moment. And then I also like some ground nutmeg as well. And all I do is give this a good stir together so that all of those apples are coated. Now, some people like to prepare their filling and cook their filling. I prefer to do mine this way and to slice my apples so that I know that they're going to cook through okay. So just keep stirring this through. And this is going to be a very full apple pie. Now the other thing that's worth adding to your apples is some flour, which sounds really strange, but it just helps the filling to stay nice and thick and not too liquidy. And then that way, by doing that, just using that little bit of flour, just make sure that our pastry stays nice and crisp and we've got a really good, delicious filling. To take a look at the colour and bake we've managed to achieve on the bottom, that is absolutely perfect. That means it's definitely not going to be soggy. So I'm going to load this up now with my apples. Lovely and full with those apples, gorgeous. I'm just going to crack one of these little eggs in here. Give that a stir, just beat that up. And then we can go around the edge of our pastry with the egg, and that's just going to help our lid to stick down. Now, if you want to make a lattice or you want to decorate it a lot on the top, then you're going to need a little bit more pastry than what I've got. The amounts I've got for this size are literally perfect for the base and the top. My lid I have rolled out, there you go, using my cling film, just pressing it down on those egg wash edges that we've got there. Lovely. And then we can remove that nice and easy. Now we just trim off the excess pastry. And look, there really isn't a lot of it. There's no waste with this recipe. The final thing I like to do is I like just, because it looks nice, and it does obviously seal those edges even more as well if you do this. While I was cooking the base and making the filling, I did actually have the pastry lid in the fridge, just to make sure that that butter that's in there wasn't getting too soft. It is quite soft now. My kitchen is very warm. There you go. So we've got a nice fluted edge on there. And then I like to make a few little holes just in the top, like this, just to let any steam escape while that's cooking. Last thing to do is to get our egg wash and put that all over the top. Now, when you're baking this, if you're finding that it's colouring too much, just simply cover it over with a little bit of foil and continue cooking, because we want to make sure that those apples are cooked inside, and therefore it does need a good lengthy amount of time. There you go. That is ready to go back in. I'm going to put it back on my sling. Going to continue to do exactly what we were doing before, putting that straight in the bottom of the pot. I've cut a slice of my apple pie. Can you see in there? Those apples are soft and juicy and so much flavour in those. And the pastry has stayed perfectly crisp. I forgot to mention earlier that I added a little bit more of my sugar just over the top of the pastry before I baked it. So pleased with this. I'm serving it with custard, and there's the slice over there. I really hope you've enjoyed the recipe, and don't forget to hit the like button for me if you do fancy a bit of this. And if you're going to make it, leave me a message, put a comment in the description, let me know what you think of my apple pie. If you wish to purchase any of my cookbooks with delicious recipes just like this one, please visit my website www.susannahskitchen.uk.